The most anticipated Path of Exile review in the history of ever is finally here. Let's see if Diablo 4 has even the slightest of chances of currently competing.
Okay, I've been playing Path of Exile now. I've got about 120 hours into my character, and it is time for us to do our final review, impressions, whatever you want to call it. Looking back at Path of Exile, what I've learned and what I think about the game. I have done several of their fights as Turi, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, Cyrenarch, and either of the worlds I've defeated. The Shaper got the better of me, but I'm still trying to learn that fight. My character, as it stands, is a level 91 character. I heard it really starts getting slow right around 95, and not everyone all the way goes to 100 every
He has only 2.8k HP. That's not a lot.
Single time anyway.
2 life flasks also.
The build I ended up going with is a Juggernaut Marauder, which basically just boils down to me taking everything that gives me life, everything that gives me tank, everything that regenerates my life, elemental resistances, really
okay, so at least he has endurance charges.
Anything tanky at all. My plan was really very simple. I took shield.
Well, actually, yeah, he has a shield, so, you know.
Because I thought it sounded like a cool move because I like shields, and I took anything that makes me tankier. My whole plan was thematically, I was thinking, I'm just going to be a really tanky guy with a shield, and that was about as far as my logic went, and I learned piece by piece as I went.
Okay.
This has had good things, but also repercussions that have come from the fact that I decided to do my build like I can. For instance, I do absolutely 0 damage to speak of. That's why anytime I kill a boss, it takes the better part of my evening. But on the bright side...
Makes sense. But hey, this is his first character, so the fact that he got to that point is actually kind of really good.
I am fairly safe. But there's another way you can be safe, and that brings us to today's sponsor. Just like a guy in RuneScape looking to trim your armor, there is always somebody out there
what a time to be alive.
But while I've been fairly safe, this game is actually about farming, which means that typically it means my build is fairly slow. So when I'm doing the map device, which is essentially nightmare dungeons in this game, and I'm running these maps over and over and over again, my build is very slow for that. But the cool thing about the game is no matter kind of what build you have, there is something that works. So
Wait, I thought he's playing Shattering Throw previously, but it looks like he's literally using Shield Charge just as his damage without cast on crit.
Into the situation where I built a tanky, slow character like I'm explaining. But there happens to be one of the game modes actually works totally fine for that. You see, the version of the game mode I like is called the blighted maps or tower defense maps.
Based. Absolutely
now, let's say I wanted to run one to show you what...
Honestly, Talisman League's still my favorite because it was one of the first ones. Was it actually maybe the first one? I don't remember. But Talisman League was amazing because at that time I was playing a zombie build and that was one of the rare ways that you could get +1 zombie. Oh, what a time to be alive. But Blight, based. Absolutely based.
That actually looks like. Now, in order to actually do that, I'm going to need one of the maps. Now, if I'm a solo Southfind...
Beginner mistake putting your identify scrolls and TP scrolls like this. You should put them right here at the bottom for optimal inventory space management.
Character, which is sort of like an Iron Man from RuneScape, then what I would need to do is find the map myself. But I have Chaos Orbs here, which are basically the equivalent of the currency in the game, like your gold type of currency. This is what most people use to trade. And I could find and buy one because trading is a part of this game. This is the official website. They have their own trading ability on here. I could go to maps. I could say, yes, I want to...
Learning to use this website is actually harder to learn to actually play the game, by the way.
Blighted map, I want it to be a tier 16. I can click search and I can find a map. Instantly, here's Blighted Dunes, 5 Chaos Orbs. I will buy that one, for instance. Now it's going to tell me that, okay, you've whispered the guy. It automatically sends out that message. I just click direct whisper and it sends a message to the guys I'm clicking on, and the first person to send me an invite means I can go trade with them. The person receives my message and sends me an invite. I head on over to teleport to their hideout, which is sort of like their main player base, their main player house, whatever you want to call it. He sends me a trade request. There, I got the exact number of dollars, basically, that he wants for this thing. The Chaos Orbs is the currency. I plop it in. He trades me over the item, and there we go. Now I have the item I wanted. So the reason I want to explain trading in this game is because it is a crucial part of what makes the game feel good. In games like these,
I just want to mention the fact that he whispered to like 4 or 5 people, and now he puts D&D mode on while doing one trade. See, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things.
receiving loot for your character feels very good, but there's more to it than just receiving good loot in games. When I take this map and I go farm this map, which I'll do in a moment to show you what it looks like, when I do that, I have opportunities for the map to drop me things that I could sell on the trade system in order to make more of the currency back to go buy other items. So instead of me just looking for exactly the drop I want, and if I don't get it, everything else feels bad, every item I get is an accumulation towards my goal. It's fragments, effectively, of the character or the item I'm trying to farm, because everything is more or less currency. And with a live trade system that's fairly easy to use and fairly fast, it makes the grind not feel depressing. Like in Diablo 4, if you don't get the Tempest Roar helmet, you just feel bad all day. But if all of the items and uniques you were getting, you could trade on the market to somebody else and get gold, for instance, or some kind of currency, something that was worth something, then you know I'm not wasting my time to farm these maps. Every single time you get a drop, it is the potential to be like a dopamine exciting moment, because any of them could have something that helps you towards your goal. This is an important part that I didn't realize earlier on in my review. I didn't realize how much trading adds as an additional layer to the game. It makes you feel like you're not wasting your time, almost no matter what you're doing. But back to my original point about how even a bad build like mine can find some uses. So this is the blighted maps. Now I'm just going to run this kind of standard instead of making it absolutely crazy, because I want to be able to talk and focus on this. But these maps right here are effectively tower defense types of maps.
I want him to do a map, because it shouldn't be that bad, right? He should have, like, you know, it should be fine, right?
All the damage is going to come from my towers, and this is sort of a strategic...
Because he's doing Blight, he doesn't need HP. That does make sense why he has only 2.8k HP, because with that, it's like, I don't think he even has 40. So, you know, well, maybe he has 40, who knows. I didn't see if he actually picked the nodes. He was on the... he was near the place with Fortify, but I didn't check that he actually have the Fortify improved nodes.
Of game. So what I'll do instead of actually fighting the monsters myself is these are the lanes, and they're going to add more and more lanes as time goes on. But what I can do is I can build these turrets. For instance, this is an empowering one, and this one is going to slow them down, and this one is going to stun them. I do a combo, so now they get stunned and slowed, so they get locked for a while. This one will be my damage, for instance, with a meteorite strike. And so now I have this area where when they walk through here, they're going to get stunned, slowed, as well as damaged. Now I got to worry about the other areas they could potentially be coming from. Okay, this is the point in which they spawn from, so I'm just going to be doing sort of the same thing around the map. This is the base I am defending. If they make it here, they have 20 units of damage that I can receive, and then GG, I lost the map, and I'm not going to be getting my rewards. Now, as I kill things, I'm going to be getting more and more currency that I can actually use to upgrade my towers. You know, you're going to notice I still do damage to the minions. You can still fight these minions yourself if you want. However, the majority of your damage later on in the map is going to come strictly from your turrets. You can also modify your maps, make them more difficult. You can even make them...
I mean, yeah, ouch. That is some impressively low damage.
Easier if you choose to do...
He's probably not going to talk about path of building, right? Something I have not even used in my life because, well, you know, as long as you have a base understanding of what's a damage, what nodes add damage and what nodes multiply damage, you should honestly be technically fine. Unless you're trying to go for some kind of bullshit Ignite build.
Do that so you're not just kind of locked in to having it only one way. This is a totally normal one, so I didn't make it easier, I didn't make it harder. And it can get crazier and crazier as you get going with these maps. I mean, they're going to start sending bosses, and you can see they're already kind of making it through my turrets. And this mode is where I've spent the majority of my time in the game so far, because one, it works really well.
By the way, how fun I think Blight is? Well, let me tell you. Let me just explain it like this. I was playing Flicker Strike. Well, 50% of the time I'm playing PoE, I'm playing some kind of Flicker Strike version. I have done everything, okay? I have played the Chieftain Fire Flicker Strike, Raider every kind of Flicker Strike, physical damage, poison damage, elemental damage, claws, swords, daggers. I have done literally everything with Flicker Strike at this point. But man, this is not great for a Flicker Strike build, but I still loved it.
With my build, considering that my build basically has 0 damage, I can rely on the turrets to farm the things. And 2, because it's actually just extremely enjoyable. I actually really like tower defense games outside of this game. I actually just like tower defense games. So when I figured out there was tower defense in it, it seemed to be a pretty nice fit for me.
Dude,
and the cool thing is because of the currency
one.
system I'm talking about, here's a boss, for instance, that's sneaking on through. I didn't see this other lane. Because of the way the currency system works, I can continue to use these maps and play the way I want and continually make money over and over and over again and work towards my goals, which is how I got basically what I have in the game, which is the brass dome, gladiator plate, these unique items, etc., which kind of work for my build of being just as tanky as possible. And then you can see here, I failed to defend it here, so they blow up the pump, and I don't get my rewards. Now let me show you another one. So now I've used the trade system to buy another one. If I go to the stash here, I can show you I got the blighted map. Now what I'm going to do is improve the quality of this map to make it drop more loot. I'm going to make it a rare map in order to continually improve the loot quality. And then I'm going to go to this here, and these are the oils you get from the map, and I can modify the map continually by adding reduced cost of building and upgrading turrets. So now the map's a little bit easier, but I'm also going to be getting more loot. It's a little bit harder in some ways, but it's a little bit easier in building the towers.
So you're telling me his build bricked? And he just started playing Blight because that's workaround it. That's actually smart. I have never heard anyone ever do this.
Which will also give me more loot. So now I'll show this to you again. Basically, I'm walking you through the process of how I learned to do these tower defense maps, because originally I was just getting wasted every single time, and then you learn the nuance of you modify the maps to fit exactly to what your build needs. I basically have no DPS to speak of in my build, so I need to be able to have the towers be cheap and do as much damage as possible.
Honestly, his survivability is also kind of like atrocious, but that's fine.
The towers can carry the map in order for me to farm the highest tier of the map to get the most loot possible, even with my dogshit build. So now we're going to put the map in again, and we're going to run it.
Blow them up
and this time, because we modify it, there are going to be more monsters to fight, so it'll be a little bit more difficult, but it's also going to be a lot easier because the cost of
previously I think he bought a yellow map. Now it's blue.
Turrets themselves have been reduced. I have used oils, which you get from doing the maps, in order to reduce how much the turrets cost. So now I can put them out a lot sooner. More turrets, more DPS, which will be totally fine. But the game's also going to become more complicated because now there are more monsters to end up fighting, so I'm going to have to be building a lot quicker this time than I did last time if I want to survive. The reason I'm showing you this and I'm spending so much time on it...
The way he plays this, by the way, is so absolutely abstractly crazy.
Tower defense is I want you to understand my thought process when I was playing the game of going from like, wow, my character kind of sucks because I don't know what I'm doing, to finding a way that it fit not only what my character's build that I kind of had, what it ended up working for me, but also a style of game that I actually enjoyed. From what I hear, this isn't the most popular style of game. Like, not a ton of people actually even like this game mode. It seems like I'm one of kind of the odd people that actually like the tower defense stuff. However, for me, it was exactly what I wanted to do. It's basically one of the only things I really wanted to do outside bossing. I just happened to
I love this, by the way, because I as a kid, I spent so much time playing Warcraft 3 with the boys. And, well, we played everything. Footy, Dota, a lot of Dota, obviously. You probably know that. Footy, Dota, Azeroth Watch, strategy, Dark Age of Azeroth, all of those things. Every tower of defense map that pretty much ever was. Vampirism Fire, Vampirism Zero, Vampirism Frost.
Love this game mode. You can see it's getting more and more complicated. We've got lanes everywhere at this point. I actually even died while standing there trying to upgrade stuff. And then you really got to kind of pay attention because they're all over the place. And basically what I'm trying to do is just keep them as slow as I can so that way I can have enough time to upgrade everything. And I'm doing that by locking them out with freeze and slam turrets over and over again. And then once I've got all my turrets up and they're kind of handling everything, I can just kind of go back to my base and relax and know that, okay, I can play some RuneScape or something for a few minutes, and then they're going to defeat the map for me. You don't
nice.
actually have to like tower defense to understand what I'm saying. Well, what I've realized through this process of finding my own niche area in Path of Exile, this is why there are so many Path of Exile, what's the word for it? Fanatics. People will go down a road and find exactly their path with their style of character, their thematics of the character, their own cosmetics with the character that you can get. Where I quite like the look of my character. I think he looks like some kind of like Celestrio Knight or something. Okay. Their own style of gameplay, their own types of maps, which they modify for their own way. And then they're saving up to get exactly the items they want.
Dude, this is a crazy review of Path of Exile. We're just essentially reviewing Blight and how you can cheese it to do nothing in it.
Etc. So people find their own area within the
community. By the way, the fact that the towers actually can handle everything, I did not know that. Someone is gonna, you know what's gonna happen? Someone is gonna watch this and make bots that farm currency by doing this. 100% guaranteed.
Community and within the game that makes them feel like they're focusing on and doing exactly the type of thing they want to do.
I don't see his.
So now we just finished the very last boss on this wave here that's getting stun locked to oblivion.
I think I saw his XP go up. He was standing there for a bit, but I don't think I saw his XP go up.
And just like that, it is completed. And now we have an actual, like, lot of rewards. There's going to be a lot of things I can pick up. All of these are chests and loot. And each time I open up one of these, I know I have a chance to get something that's actually...
This is why do people not do Blight? Look at the jewelry. Blight drops are absolutely phenomenal, honestly. They can drop so ridiculously much currency. And, you know, a lot of jewelry and a lot of gems. And people don't do it. Now that I know that you can just AFK Blight, bruh, someone's gonna just bought this.
Worth some money that I can sell. For instance, this right here is worth money. That's worth money. That is definitely worth money. These are all adding towards they're contributing towards me being able to pick up my next big upgrade. So every time I'm doing this, it doesn't feel like I'm just sitting here waiting for the one-time no whammies hit. All of these are contributing, and all of these are going to have some kind of value towards me getting whatever my next goal is. So even if while I'm looting this, I don't get exactly the best item in the game, or I don't get exactly the item I'm looking for.
Are you kidding me? You literally got like 2 chaoses or 3 chaoses. I don't know the conversion rates currently for Alks to chaos. But you got at least probably 2 chaoses just here from this. And you bought the map for, what, probably like a couple of chaos? You already have outdone it.
Oh, if I do enough of these, and I enjoy doing them anyway, because there's enough variety in the game.
And by the way, you see this? This is how many chests he needs to still open.
And kind of pick whatever.
And he has 1, 2, 3, 4 more currency chests.
I really like doing, and I'm picking the tower defense thing where I can play multiple games at once. I can open up RuneScape and Woodcut or something while I'm doing this as well. Eventually, by the end of the day, I'm going to have a significant increase of wealth, which I will put towards getting my next big upgrade. So combined, what does that actually mean? It means I'm making meaningful progress on a character that is unique, fairly unique to me, on what I actually wanted to build and the theme I wanted to build it. In the gameplay mode that I enjoy.
Dude, that character is not unique. That character is fucking one of a kind. Which actually means unique. But, you know, unique doesn't mean unique nowadays when people say one of a kind is the new unique.
Playing in a community that actually has trade and interaction if you are not doing the solo stuff.
I mean, most of the time you're actually trading with bots, but that's fine.
Fine thing. You can actually, you know, trade with the community.
Oh, by the way, if you're a beginner in this game and you find something you really want and it's like not expensive or something, just whisper the guy selling it and say that you're new and you don't have, you know, like 5 chaoses, but you have like this amount of X, and they're probably gonna fucking give that item to you anyway, because the reality of trading, if you have done trading in these games, is like the faster you sell something the better, because waiting until you sell something for the real price in a lot of cases, if it's like a low tierish, you know, if it's beginnerish garbage, is like a waste of your waste of oxygen and effort.
etc. While looking the way I want to look, the game has a lot going for it that allows you to find your own path, which is what I think feels unique about this ARPG. For me, ARPGs tend to be the thing where it's you find a build, you copy paste, and yes, that is something you sort of should do in Path of Exile.
Honestly, at some point PoE is gonna do it. Maybe PoE 2 is gonna do it, but they're gonna implement the PoE trade website into the game as a legit thing. That's probably gonna happen at some point.
You kind of do need the builds, and I'm falling prey to not having used the build. There's things that are hard for me now, like trying to build a fight the Shaper boss. I just don't have the DPS for it. I suck, and people are telling me to change my build, and I'm stubbornly pounding my head against it, trying to be the leader anyway. And it seems very obvious. I just basically need a better build and to retweak my build. But that being said, there's a lot you can do kind of in your own way. And I don't actually think, after playing this game as far as I did, that the drop-off on bricking your character is as bad as I thought. I think my character was, helped out by the fact I had chat sitting there kind of giving me advice, etc. So some people may...
Oh lord, chat advice in PoE probably is really bad unless you, can distinguish the people who actually give decent advice.
Get punished harder. But there are multiple styles of game modes, like the Blight game mode, that you can find that kind of regardless of how you ended up fucking up your character, you can still find a way to progress. And you can use the currency you get to buy basically refund orbs that then you can use to refund your skill tree, and you can rebuild your character if you need to. So it's actually...
You can do it, but the fun... I don't know. You know why seasons are actually such a good thing? Because PoE works amazing on seasons. People don't want to just buy 120 scouring orbs. Or refund, or what are they even called? I have forgotten, because you so rarely use them. People just roll new characters most of the time if they want a complete rebuild. So yeah.
Actually, on retrospect,
maybe that's his D2 Diablo 4 mindset, by the way, that you just refund everything. Because I think I have never even came close to refunding anything more than 10 things, and that was just to build my character better, stronger, because I had now access because of something, and I needed to respec slightly, but I didn't respec fully. I don't think people actually do that in Path of Exile, do they?
Not quite as bad as I was originally thinking. So all of that to show you some examples of what I've been doing. So what do I actually think about the game? What is my now impression of the game after having played it? The game is like a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10, in my opinion.
True.
It's very good. The only reason I wouldn't give this game like a 10 out of 10 and be ranting and raving about being the best game ever made, etc., is because there is some things, not necessarily in the game, but outside of the game, that are required if you really want to go to the pinnacle of the game. And again, you don't really have to push the pinnacle of the game.
I mean, you're gonna get to the pinnacle of game if you're, if you're not a complete dumbass. You're gonna get to the pinnacle of the game probably on your fourth attempt, roughly. If you're actually using a good skill. Now, admittedly, knowing what a good skill is kind of questionable, but you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. You don't need a guide to actually make it to the end of the game. You just need to understand a couple of basic mechanics. And most of the time, that is how to make yourself strong enough to survive some encounters. Because, it's at one point you're fine, at the next one you're absolutely dead. Because that happens often. And, you need to understand how do you actually, get past those points. And, what are the best courses of getting damage for a build.
The game. I've gotten decently far with only really help from chat, and they tend to argue with each other, so half the time it's not even useful anyway. But I've gotten decently far, enough that I feel decently satisfied with my first run of a character, while not really following any of these major guides or anything. However, there are a bunch of tools that definitely make your time in the game significantly better, so it does kind of make the barrier to entry to the ultimate in-game fairly high, which is one of the issues. For instance, it is very difficult to tell what your items are worth when you receive one. If I wanted to know what this item's worth, I would have to download a program called Awaken PoE, which then will show you what the prices are of these items, using sort of the API of the game. I'll go in and take a look, okay, where are these currently being traded with, etc. That way I can know. And you kind of have to do this with most of the items you get if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, for divination cards, obviously.
Take some time. There's also this application, which is Path of Building. This is a very useful application that will help you immensely with your build. Effectively, what you can do is you can import your build for your characters. So I have my level 91 here, and I can import my skill tree, my passives, my items, all of that types of things. And I can go back and actually look at the skill tree here.
The biggest use of this is the fact that it actually shows you true damage. Look at that. Average DPS 60 fucking K. Jesus Christ, kill me now. Oh no, that is so bad. Wow. Hit chance 100%. Okay. Crit chance 10%. Crit multi. Okay.
And what it's going to do...
Yeah, you can just tell by this. There's a lot of stats in the wrong locations.
Is it would tell me when I hover over something exactly how much it's going to improve or degrade my build, which is immensely important so you don't make those mistakes like we were talking about earlier. Very useful tool. However, even though I knew it was going to be useful and everybody and their mom was telling me that you need to install this tool, you need to understand it, everyone uses it, and it's how you make your character good, I didn't want to because all I wanted to do was play the game, which I think is a perfectly reasonable way to play the game. Most people that download the game, when they're just starting the game, they're not into the game so much that they want to download 3, 4, all these different programs to understand trade values, to understand how to build your character, et cetera, without literally ruining your character for you. A lot of people just don't want to do that because they're trying to play the game from the beginning. So that can be a barrier. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I know the PoE people would push back and say, no, it's really useful. No, that it is really useful.
Yeah, it is useful, but it's annoying. It's annoying that the game that requires you to have it.
Download the game. They just want to try a game, trying to get these people to install modifiers, add-ons, as well as these additional programs, which, in my opinion, are probably badly needed to make sure your in-game experience is enjoyable and to make sure you don't make these mistakes. And the problem is the mistakes you make in the beginning do tend to bite you in the ass later in the game. So the earlier you get these programs, the better your experience will be.
By the way, for everyone who uses Path of Building, you're sure are a bunch of dumb motherfuckers, I ain't gonna lie. You know which are the strongest nodes in the game? Pretty much without exception, that no one ever fucking takes? This. And probably this. These are the two probably strongest damage nodes in the game. They're literally free. That you get them at the start. And they're immensely powerful. 1 point for 10 plus damage. Like, what? The assassin has like 13 damage on a single fucking starter node? For literally any damage, by the way. 13% damage plus, I think it was an energy shield or something like that. At the starter node. And no one picks these up! This is a failure on I think this is one of the biggest expressions of the failure of the human race. It's like, we don't want to pick these nodes up because they're small. Everyone wants to go for this. Or for this, because it's a big node. But yeah, the reality is this node, damage-wise, is probably like 2 times worse than this node. Because this node requires one point, this node requires 2 points. And getting to here requires you how many nodes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just too much. Oh no, he goes here. I thought he did I thought he just did a basic mistake of, doing this. Okay, he did not. That's good. That's nice. Oh boy. But anyway, yeah. Don't sleep on the starting nodes. Usually at least 2 of the starting nodes are gonna be your literal biggest damage nodes in the game. And no one picks them up, ever.
The earlier you get these programs, the better your experience will be. These are going to be the barriers to entry in the game, which seems consistent with my original impression of the game, which is that if you can push past the barriers to PoE, the things that make you not interested in the game, and you force yourself through those, then the game continually opens up to you and becomes a better and better game. That is continually how I feel about Path of Exile. It's a phenomenal game. It is a extremely deep game that has a ton of content that will fit your playstyle, your thematics, exactly the type of even game modes you want to play. you can make the character exactly what you want, which is really cool in an ARPG world that makes you typically think.
That's not true, but it's so close that no one cares that it's not true.
Everyone tells you Path of Exile, you have to copy these builds and all that, which you kind of do, but the game's not really copy-paste.
Really.
I would actually argue a lot of people's experiences are very different from other people. It's both because of the game mode they choose to play, like solo self-found versus just standard game mode, you know, like the Iron Man type of style, what kind of drops they got along the way, you know, maybe they got more currency than another person, what little modifiers in their build they decide to change. A lot of people might use a build guide, but I don't think everyone necessarily always does it in the same way. So it actually might be a little bit more of unique experience per person than some of the other ARPGs in which there's not a lot of modifiers to change, so there's not a lot of opportunity to have your character sort of identify itself differently out of the pack. To put it shortly, Path of
Last Epoch does so much more to identify you out of the pack, though.
Exile requires a lot for you to ultimately get ultimate satisfaction out of the game. But because it requires a lot, that is a symptom of the fact that Path of Exile has a lot going on. And that's what you want in a game, like I've said before. You want a lot going on because you want to spend a lot of time in the game. Very rarely do people pick up an MMO-style game like this and think, I want this game to end as soon as possible. Path of Exile does not do that. It offers something for people that want to continually play the game. And I think I will come back to Path of Exile and play it effectively every season.
Yep. I also do it like that. I play like one character a season, that's it. Sometimes I literally end on Kitava because I couldn't give a shit. You know, but it's fun. And that's literally all that matters, you know? More than half my characters end at Kitava because that's the final boss. And I feel satisfied if my build can one-shot it. Because there are skills, by the way. There are literally skills and things that you can do that literally like one-shot almost Kitava through the campaign. Quite insane. You know, and admittedly they're all janky as hell, but you know, without trading and what it's still possible. Anyway, that was our boy, and this was me, Quizzer Citizen. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.